Regular meeting number 25 will now come to order. May you please play the national anthem. Councilmember Weiss, will you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, Council is grateful to have Pastor Jonathan Bradford of Bethany Baptist Church here to pray with us. Pastor, welcome back to Council.
Shall we pray? Most gracious Lord God, our Heavenly Father, we come thanking you again for this privilege of prayer. We come to say thank you for this great city called Columbus, Ohio. We thank you for President Hardin and his staff. And Father, we invite you to come in and come and bless this meeting and let love and peace be the order of the day. And then give them knowledge and wisdom to continue to make Columbus, Ohio, a great city. These blessings we ask in your darling Son. Let everyone say amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Day Alcar, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy, White, President Harding. Any person who takes any action to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to switch to the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Day Alcar, Durham, Favor Green, Remy, White, President Harding.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communication received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published into the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions by members of council, starting with Councilmember Bankston? Councilmember Day Alcar.
Thank you, President Hardin. I don't have any resolutions this week, but a couple of quick announcements. It is that time of year again where Rec and Parks is looking to hire lifeguards for the upcoming pool season. This position pays $20 per hour, and you can have the fee waived to complete the Red Cross lifeguard training course, which is required to be hired. So if you know anyone who is 15 or older and would be interested in this opportunity, they can submit an interest form. They will need to participate in a swimming skills test before taking the Red Cross course. Or if they've already passed the course, they can apply for a position today. And all that information can be found at columbusrecandparks.com, Wellness Aquatics Lifeguards, or feel free to reach out to my office if you have any questions. And second, I want to extend a thank you to all who joined me at the West Side Somali Community Town Hall. We had an excellent turnout with lots of great conversations, and those who attended were able to connect with legal aid, Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, Celebrate One, Public Safety, and our building trades. And we're looking forward to having our next town hall on the north side this summer. So thank you, President. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councilmember. President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council President. No resolutions, but just a reminder, we are in day 28 of the 60-day zone-in public comment period, and the first of 3 planned City Council public hearings will take place tomorrow, May 7th at 5:30 at Douglas Community Center. Representatives from the zoning team, the Development Department and Building and Zoning Services will be in hand to present an overview of the proposed zoning code and map and answer questions from the public. Again, this is the first of 3. Folks do not need to fill out a speaker slip in advance of this hearing, so we invite certainly neighbors from across the city to join us there and ask questions about what is one of the biggest things that will come through council for a long time, that the zoning initiative to modernize our zoning code here in Columbus. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Favor. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Green.
Yeah, just one quick announcement that I wanted to make. And while I am making it, if I could please invite Miss Marianne Bender-Fuddy up to the stage. We were going to do a resolution for this next week, but we had a little mix up. So wanted to recognize Westgate, which happens to be my neighborhood. This month is their centennial birthday. So 100 years since Westgate came into existence over on the hilltop. And it's just an absolutely incredible, thriving community. My partner and my son are 4th and 5th generation hilltop residents and spent all those generations in Westgate. And so we are really proud to recognize Westgate in its 100th year of existence. And I would like to invite Ms. Bender-Fuddy, if you want to say a few words about the community and what we're here to celebrate today.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet most of you. In 1923, there were 6 houses built on Binns Boulevard. In 1924, they began what was called the Westgate Addition. There was also the Westgate Park Addition, the Camp Chase Addition, the Broadview Addition, but that all combined to be Westgate. We are not a streetcar neighborhood like a lot of people think, because the streetcar only went to Hague Avenue. What you will notice, one of the big differences between Highland West, east of Hague Avenue, and Westgate is that most of the homes in Westgate have garages, because in the 20s, that's when they started using cars. So we are having a speakeasy party. You can come dressed like the 1920s or not. We're going to have some illegal activities, a little bit of prohibition punch and a little gambling, and all the music will be from the 20s. We'll have a silent film being shown, all that. So it's going to be fun. Everyone is invited. So there. I am going to read you just this little thing. Please don't fall asleep. It's not very long, I swear. Westgate, the eastern part of Westgate, is built on the site of Camp Chase, which originally began as a Union training camp and became a Confederate prisoner of war camp. 800 enlisted men and officers of the Confederacy were the first prisoners brought to Camp Chase in February 1862. Among them were about 75 slaves and servants to the officers. Columbus citizens were outraged to learn that the African Americans continued to serve their masters even after internment. When protests from an Ohio legislative committee and horrified citizens reached Washington, D.C., federal officials were forced to act. After all had been released by May of 1862, some enlisted in the Union Army. And that is one of the reasons I love Columbus. We were feisty back then. I have this little gift. I guess who's ever thirstiest can use the pint glass and a book. I think you have a city council office. Where's Penny's mom? I'll just give it to you, and you can give it to whoever. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you are doing to highlight the great history of my neighborhood. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have nothing this evening.
All right, Councilmember White.
Thank you, President Harden. One quick announcement and then a resolution. First, I want to say that today we announced the launching of the 2024 Columbus Area Solar Co-op through a partnership with Solar United Neighbors and other community organizations like Impact Community Action, MORPC, and Green Columbus. Residents in Columbus and Franklin County area can start going solar at home. This is the 4th year we've partnered with Sun to host the co-op opportunity for residents. It's already proven to be really successful, so I would encourage any residents who have an interest in going solar to go to Solar United's website online, and they can kind of talk you through the process. Next, I'd like to invite both Matt Steele and Brian Hammerly and their team of managers to the podium. They both serve as the assistant administrators for the Division of Water. As they come forward, I'd like to introduce Resolution 0112X to celebrate May 5th through the 11th, 2024, as Drinking Water Week and recognize the numerous contributions of the City of Columbus's Water Quality Assurance Laboratory in the Department of Public Utilities Division of Water. Matt is the Assistant Administrator for the Division of Water and manages our water supply and treatment sections, which includes our 3 water plants, 4 reservoirs and regulatory compliance management, and our technical support section. Essentially, Matt oversees everything from the rivers and streams until it exits our plants, while Brian manages our distribution sections, which includes our distribution maintenance, utility metering, control center, engineering, and fleet management section. In short, Brian oversees everything that exists in our plants to the customer's tap. So hopefully I got that right. Brian and Matt, if you'll just take a moment to introduce your team, and then the podium is yours.
All right, thank you. We want to introduce our team, starting from left to right. Dave Offerman is our technical support section manager, and he oversees the engineering for our water plants and dams and reservoirs. Next is Charles Moore, our distribution system water maintenance coordinator, who oversees the repair and maintenance of our distribution system. Next is Tim Huffman, who does engineering for the distribution side of our operation, followed by Lorraine Krzeski, who is our watershed manager, who oversees all of our property around the reservoirs. Next is Emily Eskridge, who is our regulatory compliance manager, who oversees our water quality lab and ensures compliance with rules and regulations such as the lead and copper rule. And finally, on the end is Marvin Banks, who's also a water maintenance coordinator, who oversees our control center, who's the one that operates all the tanks and booster stations to provide water to everybody's tap.
Love that.
President Harden and members of council, on behalf of the Division of Water, we thank you for this recognition. Since 1871, Columbus has a rich history of being forward-thinking when it comes to meeting the needs of Central Ohio for both water usage and water quality, providing 24/7 service 365 days a year. We are a recognized leader in the drinking water industry, providing state-of-the-art treatment and innovative operational strategies for the betterment of Central Ohio. The Division of Water believes clean, safe drinking water is truly a public health business and is vital for the continued economic growth of the region. We are proud to continue the tradition city leaders and water treatment pioneers in Columbus began long ago. And I'd like to also pass it to Brian for a few words.
Sure.
Thank you.
President Harden, members of council, appreciate you having us here and recognizing this is a great team right here, and we're really proud to serve Columbus and the neighboring communities. So just very shortly, just appreciate your support and everything you guys do to support us as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for being here. All water professionals, from engineering, designing, infrastructure, to operators monitoring treatment plants around the clock, play a critical role in ensuring safe and reliable drinking water to the city of Columbus. They are all stewards of water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend. I think we can all agree that deserves a round of applause for all the hard work that you've put in. Director Aetha, I wanted to kick it to you, see if you had any remarks for the team.
Thank you, Councilmember Weiss, Council President Harden, and council members for this recognition of our team. And thank you to the folks from the Division of Water who are here tonight. and also to the hundreds of folks who support them and support our infrastructure throughout the city. So we're really just very proud and grateful for their service and everything they do for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Day, Alcarn, Dorans, favor Green, Remy White, President Harding.
Thank you, President Harding. That is all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. I want to acknowledge my intern, Maggie Chauber. Is Maggie nearby? Today is her last council meeting with us. Maggie's been with us for over 6 months and is a recent OSU graduate and soon to be Cincinnati Bearcats law student. And I'm very grateful for all of her work. I think she is purposely not trying to come into council chambers as I am talking about her. Maggie does so much for our office and for this council. I'm very grateful. There's Miss Maggie. Yeah, she has served our office through a pretty tumultuous first 5 months of this year. And one council meeting, I told her I'd rather be on a beach with a drink in my hand, and she drew me this picture and put it on my desk. So it's a reminder. That's the kind of aid that Maggie is. So I'm very grateful for you. So thank you, Maggie. And I also saw that soon we will have our next cohort of interns who start with us for the summer. They are in the building today and will be joining us at council. But council in general is really proud of our paid internship program with students from Ohio State University. They are a great asset, as Maggie is a great representative. And we have an HBCU student representative too this year. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie. But I also wanted to take this time to address an issue that we've been reading about in the Dispatch. The Dispatch has covered this recently. We've had several members of our community come down to council. And it's about an issue that's facing a few hundred of our most vulnerable residents because of the actions of some predatory investors, landlords, and property managers. Everybody knows the stories of Sawyer Towers and Colonial Village, how an out-of-town secretive LLC took over 2 huge housing complexes and let them deteriorate and exploited the residents to make money. Now they're in court answering for the crimes as the city is putting up some of those residents in hotels because they have nowhere else to go. But unfortunately, in the last few weeks, we've had more cases like this, which I'll let Councilmember Favor speak to. But I want to be clear that this exploitation of our most vulnerable residents is unacceptable. And while some of the practices we are seeing are legal, because the State House prohibits cities like ours from halting these evictions or regulating rents, they are morally reprehensible. And we're not going to stand idly by while this greed becomes normalized in our city. When it comes to these big apartment flips, we know we need new approaches and new tools, and we don't have all the answers, but we are working on it. We're talking to our partners, we're trying to find creative legal and policy solutions, and we're open to new ideas. But in the meantime, we're not going to stay quiet. We're putting predatory investors and property managers across Columbus on notice that if you shamelessly exploit our residents like this, we're going to call you out. To talk more about the specific instances that we're hearing about, I'm going to turn it over to my chair of housing, Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, President Hardin. To give more context, just a few weeks ago at the Sandridge Apartments complex, a New Jersey company called Carlton Equities is taking advantage of residents being on month-to-month leases and to tell them that they only have 2 months to find a new place to live. They can't find anywhere to live that doesn't charge twice as much as their current place. We've had some of these residents here with us in chambers. And we're seeing this behavior from Peak Property Group, a subsidiary of Coastal Ridge, which brought up 9 buildings on Riverview Drive and are now jacking up the rents on seniors and immigrants who live there, giving them very little notice, and they now have no choice but to move out. Across these examples that we've cited, we're talking about the displacement of over 1,000 families. And because of our incredibly tight housing market, we don't have 1,000 affordable housing units to move these folks into. Columbus is doing a lot to combat our housing shortage. That's why we asked Columbus voters to approve $250 million in affordable housing bonds. That's why City Council created a new citywide incentive program for affordable housing construction and passed new tenant protections for renters. And why the city is working to rewrite our outdated zoning code that makes it too hard to build housing. We believe housing is a human right, period. And we are thankful to the majority of landlords and builders who do look out for our tenants and our neighbors and are a part of the solution to our housing crisis. And we appreciate all who have stepped up to do heroic work to provide resources to affected residents and try to find people a safe place to go. That includes the City Department of Development, Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, the Community Shelter Board, and others, all who are doing amazing work. If any resident believes their rights have been violated or is facing an eviction, they should call our partners at the Legal Aid Society of Columbus. That number is 614-241-2001. Director Stevens, your team is hard at work on this. Can I ask you to chime in about the epidemic of displacement and what we're doing for our residents?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Favor, members of City Council. President Hardin, as you mentioned earlier, the state legislature has circumvented our ability to pass tenant right legislation at the local level. That has had a tremendous impact on going after this predatory approach to our residents. But what we have done is we have made sure through our partners in the community that Chair Favor had referenced, we're working to make sure that legal aid is there so the rights that they do have as tenants are being protected. We're also bringing in our housing resource specialists, and they're in about 30 different organizations that we provide emergency rental assistance to. Those specialists are working with the individuals to try to help them find new housing. As they go through that process, if there's the ability to provide emergency rental assistance, we are doing that as well. This is a supply issue at the worst level, and the work that this council and the city has done to try to get ahead of this as best we could is commendable. Chair Favor talked about the affordable housing bonds that our residents supported. She talked about the incentives we are put in place to build more housing and affordable housing. The zoning code is going to have that update will have a tremendous impact on the ability to build houses in all our neighborhoods. So we'll continue to be as proactive as we can, and we'll work with you on how do we best protect the residents.
Thank you so much, Director. And just as we will call out bad actors, it was really important that we also call out the folks who are stepping up. One, the landlords who are taking care of our families every day, doing the right thing, but also those agencies that we partner with that are tirelessly doing the work of either keeping folks in their houses or in these unfortunate situations are working really hard to rehouse these individuals. So thank you to those folks who are being responsible in our community. Thank you. Are there any comments by elected officials or members of the administration? Hearing none.
Council President, at this time I request the following ordinance to be removed from the consent portion of our agenda this evening and the Workforce Education and Labor Committee ordinance number 1166-2024.
Are there any other requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent portion of the agenda? May we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30 legislation by the city clerk?
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day Akar, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy, White, President Harding.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance number of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Okay, Finance and Governance Committee, ordinances 1146 and 1190-2024. Economic and Development and Small Minority Business Committee, ordinances 1128 and 1176-2024. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 0786 and 1111-2024. Neighborhood Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 1028, 1034, and 1298-2024. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 1141, 1142, 1179, and 1199-2024. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, ordinances 1136, 1150, 1165, and 1188-2024. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinances 01755, 1138, and 1161-2024. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 0233, 0845, 0875, 0954, 1066, 1075, 1080, 1081, 1086, 1099, 1130, 1154, 1187, and 1189-2024. Zoning Committee, ordinances 1264, 1259, 1265, and 1268-2024.
May we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of third-day legislation as a city clerk? My apologies. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of expressions 011X, 0121X, 0119X, 0116X, 0117X-2024. Finance and Governance Committee, ordinances 1018, 1107, 1173, 1200, 1220, and 1252-2024. Economic Development and Small Minority Business Committee, 1183-2024. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 1103 and 1119-2024. Neighborhoods, Recreation and Parks Committee, 1027, 1030, 1036, 1011, 1039, 1040, 1043, 1224, 1196, 1210, and 1214-2024. Workforce Education and Labor Committee, 0977, 1162, 1166, 1169, -2024. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, 904, 1084, 1143, 1144, 1145, and 1209-2024. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, 1106, 1185, and 1223-2024. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, 1048, 1063, 1091, and 1204-2024. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, 980, 997, 1046, 1147, 1149, 1152, 1155, and 1203-2024. Under Rules and Reference Committee, Rules and Policy Committee, I apologize, we have one appointment from the Mayor's Office, and that's A0111-2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing no, are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval of these items? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Bangston,
Yes, with the exception of ordinances 1196 and 1169-2024, from which I'm abstaining.
Day Akar,
Yes.
Dorans. Favor. Green. Remy. White.
Yes, with the exception of 1040-2024, on which I am abstaining.
President Harding.
Yes, consent portion of the agenda is approved with the exception of 1166.
Which was removed.
Which was removed. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Economic Development and Small Business Committee, chaired by Councilmember Bangston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in the Economic and Development Small Minority Business Committee, for second reading, we have ordinance 1083-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation in the amount up to $1,200,000 for the purpose of targeting central city areas to advance economic and community development initiatives, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of up to $1,200,000 from the Neighborhood Economic Development Fund to advance funding per a predetermined schedule. This ordinance provides funding to Downtown Columbus, Inc., formerly known as Columbus Downtown Development Corporation, or CDDC, for the continued implementation of the Downtown Strategic Plan in coordination with other future city priorities within the downtown area. Are any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Bangston,
Yes?
Day Ockar. Yes. Dorans. Favor. Green. Remy. White. President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1104-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a job creation tax credit agreement of 45% for a term of up to 6 consecutive years with Nouveau Packaging LLC in consideration of the company's proposed total capital investment of $10 million and the creation of 100 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of $5,872,653. As a refresher for those, job creation tax credits, or JCTCs, is one of the several tools the city uses to support economic development opportunities. It is a non-refundable tax credit calculated as a percentage of the City of Columbus income withholdings for eligible new employees and applied towards the company's municipal tax liability. The credit rate and term are based upon the amount of new investment and the number of jobs created as a result of the project. Again, I just wanted to iterate, this is not a tax abatement, but rather a tax credit, and is also performance-based. And so this is given to the company as long as they perform and uphold their bargain as far as jobs created. Nouveau Packaging LLC is a plastics thermoforming company in the recyclable food packaging sector that serves the bakery, deli, confectionery, and food service industries. Nouveau Packaging is proposing an investment total expenditures of approximately $10 million in machinery and equipment to establish a new manufacturing operation here in the city of Columbus. With this investment, the company proposes to enter into a lease agreement on a vacant industrial facility consisting of approximately 96,000 square feet at 845 Catterley Drive. The proposed project will allow Nouveau Packaging to expand into the Columbus region by creating 100 new net full-time permanent positions with an annual approximate payroll of $5,872,653. The Department of Development is recommending a jobs creation tax credit equal to 45% of the amount of new employee city income tax withhold for 6 consecutive years based off of performance. All proposed jobs associated with this project are well above the $20 an hour threshold, and Nouveau Packaging products are recyclable, and the plant will use post-consumer flake and resin in the manufacturing process. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Day Ockar. Dorans. Favor. Green. Remy. White. President Harden.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. It's chaired by Councilman Rosa de Padilla, but today is read by Vice Chair Day Ockar. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight, in the Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have Ordinance 979-2024 to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fee simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the Central College and Ulrey Road Improvement Project, project number 440106-1. 00000 to authorize an expenditure of $47,593. The Central College and Ulrey Road Improvement Project will widen Central College Road, Ulrey Road, and Lee Road for the addition of turn lanes at the intersection of Central College Road and Lee Road. Central College Road from Lee to just east of Santa Mark Place will be widened to create a 3-lane section for the entire limits and providing an extension of the existing 3-lane section east of Santa Mark. The city must acquire certain fee simple title and lesser real estate located in the vicinity of Central College Road and Ulrey Road, collectively real estate, in order for the Department of Public Service to timely complete the public project. The city's acquisition of the real estate will help make, improve, or repair certain portions of the public right-of-way located in the vicinity of Central College Road and Ulrey Road, which will be open to the public without charge. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Alcar, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1108-2024 to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of funds within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to appropriate funds within the Community Development Act Fund, to authorize the interim director of public service to enter into contract with Shelley and Sands Incorporated for the Wheatland Avenue Improvement Project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $6,176,373.14 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund and the Community Development Act Fund for the project and declare an emergency. The Wheatland Avenue project converts the roadway to two-way traffic within the project limits. Improvements include concrete curbs, walks, storm sewer, bioretention basins, trees, street lighting, and electric transmission and distribution lines. The existing utility poles and lines will be relocated farther east to provide space for the widening and other work as may be necessary. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Alcar, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1123-2024 to amend the capital improvement budget to authorize a transfer of funds within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to authorize interim director of public service to enter into contract with Complete General Construction Company for the intersection of Cleveland Avenue at Myrtle Avenue project, to authorize expenditure of up to $1,250,567.84 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund and the Community Development Act Fund for the project and to declare an emergency. This contract includes the realignment of Cleveland Avenue through the intersection of Myrtle Avenue. Work includes curb removal and installation, resurfacing, full signal replacement, reinstallation of interconnect, relocation of street lighting and power lines, water line lowering, and installation of storm sewer down Myrtle Avenue, and other work as may be necessary. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? No? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Alcar, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have for this committee. With your permission, I would like to move to Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee. Thank you. The first two ordinances in this committee pertain to the 2024 Youth Grants Program. Recently, Council and Mayor Ginther announced $20.8 million in city funding for summer programming for Columbus youth. After a competitive application process, including an interdepartmental review of the over 200 community organizations who applied, $8.6 million in funding was announced to be allocated towards nonprofits in support of their respective summer youth programs. The number of applicants speaks not only to the need for programming to deter youth from violence this summer, but also speaks to the desire of community members to step up and invest in youth in the community. These dollars are an investment in both public safety and our youth, and thus our future, by ensuring youth stay engaged and involved this summer. The 90 organizations being funded host a diversity of summer programs. Many put on familiar programs like summer school tutoring and sports leagues. Others provide event production training, mental health management classes, practice in the arts, and lessons in gardening. All programs include focus on either intellectual development, career readiness, or nonviolent conflict resolution. These groups also hail from all over our city, from the west side to King Lincoln to Linden to the south side, and the people administering these programs are trusted community partners with existing connections and relationships with the community. These are the people who know how best to look after our youth. While these programs may differ in size, location, and type of activities, they all hope to utilize youth intervention best practices to serve at-risk youth who are disproportionately impacted by violence and not often afforded opportunities to participate in high-quality programming. Tonight, we have three such nonprofit leaders here to talk about how this city funding will help deliver such programming this summer. I'd like to invite Dominic Jones from Legacy U, Shelley Casto from Highland Youth Garden, and Melissa Thomas St. Clair from Mothers of Murdered Children Columbus up to the podium. Dominic, we will start with you. The floor is yours.
Let the sheet get on up. Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for having me and all of us up here today. For myself, this is my 4th summer with summer programming for youth. And this year, I'm super excited. She said 90 organization has been funded, and I think is, 4 years ago, it wasn't that, but to see the energy in the city, to see everybody trying to be collaborative and how we can work together, I think it's going to be a really good summer for us. And I'm just happy that you guys continue to see the investment. The community really needs it. Our youth really needs it. And we're here to do it as a village. It don't take one program. It's going to take all 90 to get to the goals we want to reach. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to be serving alongside these two.
Hello, Melissa Thomas St. Clair, representative of Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children. I want to give honor to God. I'm going to read this so it's clear. Thank you, President Hardin, Councilman Remy, Councilwoman Favor. Thank you to all the other council members. And thank you for being one of the largest financial supporters of the mission, but more importantly, authentic believers in the mission. We really, truly appreciate that. November of 2023, we launched an organic initiative under triple digits, which has a measurable goal to reduce homicides for 2024. It's an aggressive goal to be under triple digits. The last time Columbus, Ohio saw a reduction in homicides to under triple digits was 2013, where we had 98 homicides. Columbus, Ohio, with the collaborative efforts that Dominique so eloquently stated, it's working. We are now at 27 homicides, and I wouldn't be remiss to those 27 families, 27 mothers, and all other family members who have lost their loved one. But this time last year, if we ended quarter one with 25 homicides this year, and we ended last year, quarter one, at the end of April with 62. It's working. I want us to know that we know that some of the other data shows that our youth, 8 of the 25 suspects were between the ages of 11 and 18. So we know that we need to hit our youth, and Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children plan to do that with a program called See More, Want More. What is it? It's an ongoing free program because of your funding that aims to immerse teens into community engagement, career exposure, volunteer opportunities, college exposure, arts, financial literacy, restaurant etiquette, passion identification, gun safety, and how to build and maintain healthy relationships, crime prevention, and growth mindset changes. The vision is to engage youth in lived experiences that will support youth mindset to aid in the measurable goal of reducing crime with a result of homicides being under triple digits. Everything that we're going to do this summer has that overarching goal. We need to reach our youth so they know they can make decisions, but more importantly, they know their life matters. But also, how does it matter? What can they do to include themselves into societal best decision-making? Lastly, how are we going to find our youth? Myself and Rhonda Claiborne were both CCS educators and executive administrators. So we plan to use the student information system to find a cohort of 25 youth that fit in data descriptions that say, you know what, these youth may, because of their behavior or attendance, be prone to decision-making that will cause crime. But this program is open to all youth. So we'll have a cohort of 25 to see their data change from May to December. And then we'll have a cohort of up to 200 youth that can involve themselves in things such as, we have fishing, not fighting. We've already contracted 2 of my former students who are competitive fishermen. We are going to go to 3 different places in the urban area right there in Linden. There's a Linden Pond. They catch bass and crappie. We're going to talk about lures and how that you can honestly win truck trucks and houses from fishing. We've got trendy trades. We're jumping on that bandwagon of revitalizing the power of the trade world. We've already talked to Jaquez Terry for a painter, Sean Rogers for mechanics, BJ Franklin for entrepreneurship, union jobs, HVAC, landscaping, podcasting, and DJing. We're going to talk about non-degree jobs. We're coming to you so that they can interview you and find out, what do you do? Law enforcement, City of Columbus opportunities, firefighting. Then we also are going to take tours around Ohio quaint towns, get them out of what they know, bring them into areas, suburbs, some suburbs, Olentangy, Dublin, those areas which seem so unattainable. We want them to see that it's attainable. First Tee Golf, we've talked to them. Sports outside of the status quo, such as lacrosse, water polo, and synchronized swimming. I can go on and on, but you know the work we do. It speaks for itself. Thank you so much for being a partner. We look forward to serving our youth.
My name is Shelley Casto. I'm the Executive Director at Highland Youth Garden, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come, and thank you all for our past and present funding. We can't do the work without you. This program I'm representing tonight is the Green Teens program. We will employ 15 youth from the Hilltop to run our free fresh produce market, work in the garden, learn about food justice issues. And I'd like to tell you a story of impact. One young man from last year's program, which the city funded, was gently guided, let's say, into the program by his mother. And he was not very impressed with the idea of working in the soil and in the heat. It was not, he didn't think it was going to be his thing. But pretty quickly he realized that actually working outdoors in the soil and in the fresh air was something that was really helping his mental health. He was noticing that he was more focused, that he was more in touch with his feelings, and that it really was helping him in a very positive way. And there's science to back this up, and it was really helping him. He's also a very outgoing young man who loves to make new friends, and found that our fresh produce market, where we give away our 4,000 pounds of produce that we grow every summer, was his scene. That he could talk to his neighbors, he could feel a sense of purpose by distributing the fresh produce, and he dubbed himself the flower boy because what he especially liked is all the senior ladies in the neighborhood who would come on the weekend looking for their weekend flowers, and he would provide those flowers. So he really found a sense of purpose in this work. But what is most what is most meaningful to me and my staff is the fact that over the course of this school year, he came to just show up, to see us, to talk to us, to check in, to help at the garden. And we all know in working with youth that when you have a teenager who asks to spend time with you, you say yes. So I'm looking forward to seeing him more this summer too. So thank you all for your support of our work.
Wow, thank you all for being here this evening and for your continued work in our community. Such exciting programs and competitive fishing. It's incredible. I'm from a competitive fishing family. You can't earn a living doing that. Do any of my council members have any questions or comments for our speakers? Yes, Nick.
I just wanted to comment that you all are saying thank you to us, and really the thank you is to you all because you do the work and also because you do it continuously. I want to be clear through this process because oftentimes we get emails and notifications about how are these organizations selected. We had hundreds of applications of folks. It is a very competitive process. It's a very limited resources that we have, but there's a scoring rubric that our entire team goes through, both the council and the administration. And so not only are you all doing the work, the data speaks for itself. And it's data-driven work that you all are doing, but it's also heart work. And what I can tell you that is common between the three things that you all just said that resonate with me is exposure. Just providing our young folks with a chance to see something different. And as many of you know, that this is near and dear to my heart because I was a victim of gun violence and a survivor, and happy to say that I am. When I think back to my friends that day, they didn't have what I had, right? Two-parent household and support system to help get through that. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But for so many of our young folks, that wrong place is their only time. And so we have to figure out, how do we create new spaces? How do we expose them? How do we invest in them? How do we pour into them and let them know that they truly are our future, but they are also our now? And you guys are doing it every single day, not just through the summer months, because I know the work that you do even in the school year as well and year round. But this is work that we all have to get in. So I love the collaboration, that it's going to take all 90 of us. It's going to take all 90 of us plus to stay under 100. So thank you all for the work that you are doing. And I'm so grateful to be able to invest in not simply your organizations, but to invest in our next generation.
You know, to echo Councilmember Bankston, you know, it's not enough for us to go after those bad actors in our community, but this is indicative of our investment in strategies that absolutely work. Sometimes it feels a little bit weird for others who might be watching this, and why does it take so much? It doesn't matter if you live in the city or if you live in the suburbs, there's always investments that are being made in our youth. And so this initiative that the city has been embarking on for the last few summers, it absolutely does work. And then specifically to the mothers, I never miss an opportunity to say thank you specifically for the work that you all do. You have gone through something that parents should never have to go through. And yet and still you have taken that tragedy and made sure that other parents don't have to experience what you have by continuing to show up and to fight on behalf of young folks in our community every single day. You don't have to do it, and yet and still you do it. And so thank you for continuing to live your truth and pouring back into our community. But also thank you to all of the individuals who were funded this go around, and those who were not and are going to continue to show up and support our students throughout this summer. Thank you, Councilmember Day Alcower, for bringing forth this legislation this evening.
Any others?
I just want to add, you know, there's not much more to say, but thank you. You know, this is all part of all of our commitment to public safety and our streets and our community. And so I've seen all your work. I mean, it's phenomenal. Best of the best right here tonight. And we couldn't do this without the commitment that you all bring to the table. And so we know that we're working hard, you know, Chief Bryant, Chief Happ, you know, we're all working hard every day for the right to feel safe in our community, but it's everyone stacking hands. And so to see your work continue and see you grow is very exciting, because you know, we're seeing results, and I'm not, you know, I'm knocking on wood, but I'm going to tell you that it's because of the collaboration and all of us working very hard together that we're seeing some results now, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, thank you all. As someone who's done youth programming, I know that it's a labor of love, what you do, and our whole community just owes you gratitude for all that you do. So now we will get into reading and passing the main two ordinances legislating these dollars. Ordinance 1041-2024 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into advance pay grant agreements with 44 local registered 501c3 nonprofit organizations in support of summer youth programming, to authorize a transfer within the general fund and the Recreation and Parks operating fund, to authorize an appropriation expenditure in the Recreation and Parks operating fund, and to declare an emergency. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Day Alcar, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And then the second piece of legislation is ordinance 1201-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Neighborhoods to enter into grant agreements with African American Male Wellness Walk, Lead with Purpose, Always With Us Charities, Brown Girls Mentoring, Central Community House, Columbus Fashion Initiative, Columbus Housing Partnership Incorporated, DBA Homeport, Columbus Urban League, Community Development for All People, Community of Caring Development Foundation, Community Partners Youth Development Organization, Community Refugee and Immigration Services, Down Syndrome Association of Central Ohio, Franklin County Historical Society, DBA COSI, Gladden Community House, Heart of Job Foundation, Highland Youth Garden, ICE Mentors Incorporated, Kingdom First, Nationwide Children's Hospital, Our Brother's Keeper, Pyramid Community Development Corporation, Remember Us, Urban Scouts Incorporated, DBA Remember Us, Urban Legends, Neighborhood Design Center, and St. Stephen's Community House in support of summer youth employment and programs, to authorize the expenditure from the general fund for programming, including the purchase of food and/or beverage items which serve the public for the purpose of administering summer youth employment and programming, and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Akar, Dorrs, favored, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, and congratulations to all our summer programs selected this year. We look forward to seeing all the important work you do in our community, ensuring our young people stay engaged and making a positive impact this summer. Up next in our community, we have Ordinance 1029-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks to enter into contract with Ironside Incorporated for the Whetstone Sports Field Improvements Project, to authorize a transfer of $1,645,471.55 within the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund, to authorize the amendment of the 2023 capital improvements budget, to authorize the expenditure of $1,645,471.55 from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Residents that regularly utilize the northern sports field at Whetstone Park for sports leagues and other activities have brought to the department's attention the frequent issue of flooding affecting playing on the field. This ordinance begins a project including grading, drainage, irrigation, and turf improvements to address this issue of water pooling on these fields. By improving these fields, it will allow for them to be used as intended with no flooding interruptions or safety concerns during the sports seasons. Wells and irrigation are also included in the improvements planned for these fields. Emergency action is requested so that the construction can be completed and allow sufficient time for the turf to establish for programming that is scheduled to resume in the fall of 2025. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Akar, Dorrance, favored, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 0660-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Neighborhoods to modify the contract with the Neighborhood Design Center by extending the contract through July 31st, 2025. I move to postpone this item until the May 13th meeting.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Akar, Dorrance, favored, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Postponed.
Thank you. That is all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, chaired by President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, we have ordinance number 0976-2024 to authorize the Director of the Office of Education to enter a contract with HMB Learning Circle Software, LLC, to provide an ongoing technical support for CHIV data platform, a program necessary to achieve the mayor's goal of every 4-year-old in Columbus having access to high-quality pre-kindergarten education, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to authorize the expenditure of $205,325 from the general fund. This ordinance supports technical support for the CHIV data platform, which is a cloud-based web application that pre-kindergartners provides used to simulate enrollment, assessment, and attendance data, and allows teachers to make real-time decisions on instruction. The office requests to waive competitive bidding per Columbus City Code, Chapter 329.15, as HBM Learning Circle Software, LLC was selected due to the prior experience and success in providing the same services since 2018. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Akar, Dorrance, favored, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1067-2024 to authorize the city clerk to enter a grant agreement with Tech Course Ohio in support of the hackathon event, to authorize an appropriation of expenditure of $100,000 within the job growth subfund. At this time, I'd like to turn this over to Councilmember Weich, who sponsored this legislation. Councilmember?
Thank you, Chair Dorns. At this time, I want to invite the CEO of TechCore, Lisa Chambers, to come to the podium. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of working with Lisa and TechCore to organize hackathons for high school students around the state, and I'm excited to bring this opportunity to the youth of Columbus in a very big way. So, Lisa, let me kick it to you to share a little bit about the event.
Thank you. Good afternoon. President Harding, Pro Tem Dorans, and Councilmember Weish, and members of City Council, on behalf of TechCore, I extend our deepest gratitude for your generous investment in the upcoming hackathon. This significant contribution demonstrates your unwavering commitment to empowering the youth of Columbus with the essential skills necessary for thriving in the workforce of tomorrow. With your support, our 6th statewide hackathon, slated for November 16th, 2024, promises to be our most impactful yet. Serving 150 high school students from Columbus and an additional 150 students from across Franklin County, the hackathon will provide a dynamic platform for learning computer science through a 12-hour coding event focused on app development. Moreover, the students will benefit from invaluable mentoring and coaching from community technology professionals, culminating in the presentation of their apps to an esteemed group of judges from around the area. Your investment ensures that winners will not only receive well-deserved recognition, but also tangible rewards, setting the stage for their future success. We look forward to celebrating our students' achievements with you during Computer Science Education Week in December. Again, I want to thank you for your support in helping us to educate, excite, and empower our city's next generation of technology innovators and leaders.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you being here and for all the work that you do. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. If we are going to position ourselves to be the Silicon Valley of the Midwest, then it is important that our residents and our students get a chance to participate. And programs like this are just the key to kind of guide them on that path. So appreciate you being here and sharing a little bit about the event. Obviously, much more to come. And with that, I'll give the floor back to Chair Dorans for passage.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do any my colleagues have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Day Alcar, Dorans, favor Green, Remy, White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Council President, with your permission, I'd like to go back to Ordinance 1166-2024 from on page 14 of our consent agenda from earlier this evening.
Please.
Thank you. Which is to authorize the city clerk to enter a grant agreement with Southside Learning and Development Center doing business as Sprout 5 in support of the Family Resource Center to authorize appropriation of expenditure of $20,000 within the Job Growth Subfunds. At this time, I move to refer this legislation to committee by voice. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston. Yes. Day Alcar. Yes. Favor. Yes. Green. Yes. Remy. Yes. White. Harden.
Abstain.
President Pro Tem Dorans.
Yes. The ordinance is referred to committee. Council President, that's all I have in my committees at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Housing, Homelessness, and Building, we have Ordinance 1079-2024 to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of up to $1.25 million of Home Investment Partnerships Program entitlement grants in the amount of $756,459.62 from the 2022 grant and $9,057.62 from the entitlement portion of the 2023 grant, and $484,482.76 of program income from the 2023 grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to execute a commitment letter and loan agreement that authorizes the city to act as a lender and have a promissory note, mortgage, and restrictive covenant executed for this project with Elevate 340 LLC for the Elevate 340 project. Elevate 340 is a new residential housing project in Columbus's downtown Discovery District. This community will have a mix of 74 3-, 2-, and 1-bedroom family units. 55 units are to be set aside for families at or below 60% of the area median income, which is around $55,000 to $30,000 a year. Of those 55 units, 4 are set aside at 30% of the area median income to serve the formerly homeless through the Community Shelter Board referral system and rental assistance. 19 units are set aside as market rate to bring together and create opportunity for the economically diverse downtown workforce. The building will be 5 stories and feature on-site parking spaces and bike storage, a fitness room, and a large community room for residents. Further, Elevate 340 will work towards obtaining LEED Silver Green certification from the U.S. Green Building Council rating system. Financing partnerships with the Ohio Housing Financing Agency, the City of Columbus, the Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus and Franklin County, the Franklin County Treasurer, the Columbus Franklin Finance Authority, and Fifth Third Bank are instrumental to Elevate 340 and the creation of much-needed affordable housing in downtown Columbus. This legislation represents appropriation for a part of the home portion of the 2022 Action Plan per Ordinance 2800-2021, the 2023 Action Plan per Ordinance 3353-2022, and the 2024 Action Plan per Ordinance 2993-2023. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Bangston, Day, Arcaro, Dorans, favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 1303-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Building and Zoning Services to modify and extend the professional services contract with Rama Consulting Group, Incorporated for the zoning code update, communications, and engagement assistance for the extension of the contract term, end date of May 8th, 2024 to May 8th, 2025, and to declare an emergency. At this time, I'd like to pass it to my colleague, Council President Pro Tem Dorans, who will speak more about this ordinance.
Thank you, Chair Favor. This initial contract was done in May of 2022, was for a 24-month period, which was authorized by ordinance number 1044-2022. Because the project was expected to extend beyond 2 years, the contract included two optional 12-month extensions subject to council's reauthorization with additional funding allocation. This extension authorized the first of those 2 extensions with no new funding at this time. Reiterate, this is just an extension of the contract dates, and there are no additional dollars being spent via this ordinance. As I mentioned earlier tonight, we're in day 28 of the 60-day public comment period for the zone-in proposal and map. RAMA is assisting in the zone-in team collecting all the public comments and formal feedback that is vital for this body to consider that public feedback as we move towards bringing this legislation forward to council. An emergency ordinance designation is necessary to extend the contract prior to its expiration on May 8th. I did want to see if Director Messer of the Department of Building and Zoning Services, anything you'd like to add at this time.
Thank you, Council President Harden, Council Member Dorans. I don't really have much to add other than to highlight the good work that they've been doing and the urgency of making sure that they continue to be able to get us through the stage that you mentioned, the comment period. They've been instrumental in that help.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, I think one of the important things to point out is they're assisting the city, I think, quite well in sort of organizing all of the feedback that's been particularly submitted through particularly through the website and the interactive map that exists. We as a council need those things to be put together in a comprehensive way so that as we consider this legislation, that is actually valuable feedback for us to be able to review as we consider the legislation moving forward. And I think that interactive map itself, where folks can zoom all the way down to their neighborhood and see what is potentially proposed and then leave a comment, the technology has allowed residents to really see, feel, and touch almost sort of what this could mean for them. But then what we really need is that comment, good, bad, indifferent, suggestion otherwise, in order for us to be able to bring that back to this body as we consider that legislation potentially later this summer. So with that, we're happy to turn it back over to Chair Favor for a vote.
Thank you, Councilmember Dorans. Are there any questions or comments by our colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Day, Arcaro, Dorans, favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee. Council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight I have two ordinances in public safety and criminal justice. The first being 1148, 2024, to authorize an appropriation of $2,978,038.81 from the unappropriated balance of the Law Enforcement Contraband Seizure Fund to the Division of Police to fund travel and training needs and purchase of equipment, supplies, and services, and to declare an emergency. Funds were received from seized and forfeited property and are used solely for law enforcement purposes as specified in Ordinance 1850-85. These funds are used to purchase various services, supplies, and equipment. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing that, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Akar, Dorans, favor green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, I have an ordinance 1181, 2024, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contract with Street Smart Rentals, LLC, in order to rent temporary lights and security camera systems for deployment in city parks, to authorize the expenditure of $244,800 from the general fund to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Codes, and to declare an emergency. Due to incidents of violence in the parks, the City of Columbus entered into an agreement in 2022 with Street Smart Rentals to install temporary and portable lights and camera systems in city parks that are of concern to the community and the Division of Police. This ordinance is to enter into a third year of continued monitoring of selected Columbus parks. These lights and camera systems will continue to enhance the Division of Police's ability to actively monitor the parks. If a violent incident occurs in one of the identified locations, these cameras will assist in the apprehension of suspects. 25 locations for initial deployment were identified by the Division of Police and Recreation and Parks, utilizing the latest crime data, as well as intelligence from patrol officers and neighborhood residents. These systems are mobile, allowing the division to relocate them to the area of greatest need. Director, could you speak to the waiver of competitive bidding, please?
Council President Harden, Council Chair Remy, the Department of Public Safety is requesting a bid waiver on this contract to continue with the vendor that has the infrastructure and the ability to monitor in these parks without interruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. We do have one speaker to speak on this ordinance this evening. Is Kyle Campbell available to come to the podium? Mr. Campbell. Welcome to council. If you could state your name, any organization that you represent, and your address, we would appreciate it. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
All right. Hello, thank you. My name is Kyle Campbell. I am just representing myself today. Hello, Councilmember Remy and the rest of the City Council. Every day, police officers risk their lives to keep us safe because much of an officer's routine involves reactive policing, in which officers respond to a law being broken and do what they can to stop that crime. This, of course, can lead to injury or death for both the officer or any other parties involved and should be minimized for good reason. This is the third year that the city has contracted with Street Smart Rentals, LLC, totaling $1,027,000. How many violent incidents in parks have happened in the last 3 years? How many violent incidents did these expensive gadgets prevent? Lighting and surveillance do, in fact, prevent crime, but it doesn't have to be done with video camera rentals from private companies. Instead, we can understand that the best kind of enforcement comes from the community. In The Life and Death of Great American Cities, Jane Jacobs wrote extensively about the concept of eyes on the street. In her words, the public peace was kept primarily by an intricate, almost unconscious network of voluntary controls and standards among the people themselves and enforced by the people themselves. We can apply this concept to the modern world without the need for modern technology. For example, nobody in their right mind would attempt to rob a person in the middle of an Ohio State tailgate, but a person riding their bicycle home on the Olentangy Trail is an easy target because there is virtually no permanent lighting along that trail. Even the process for reporting a crime to the police is laborious and wasteful, if it's even possible. Last week, I went through the process after a man-child brandished a gun at me. After the police officer wrote up the report, he rolled through a stop sign in a similar manner to the driver that hit me earlier this year. What message does that send when police officers don't even follow the laws that the rest of us are expected to obey? Additionally, there is no automatic enforcement of even the most egregious traffic violations like red light running and street racing. Reckless drivers should receive hefty fines in the mail for putting the lives of others at risk. Instead, even if they do get caught, they receive a slap on the wrist. On October 28th of last year, LaVon Galloway ran over Danae Scott and her children as they were crossing Cleveland Avenue, severely injuring them and killing two. Last month, LaVon Galloway was sentenced to 2 years of probation and fined for $525 for operating a vehicle while impaired. The remaining charges, including driving 21 miles over the speed limit, driving with a suspended license, and failure to control a vehicle, were dropped. This man should never drive again, but his license will be unsuspended by the end of this year. What kind of city do we live in that the punishment for killing two children is just that? For these reasons, I oppose Ordinance 1181-2024 because spending $1 million on surveillance equipment will not make this city any safer for me or my neighbors, nor will it undo the deaths of the dozens of people who will die this year. Nor will 16% pay raises for police officers who will cost the city an additional $80 million over 3 years. Instead, let's focus on permanent infrastructure changes that increase the amount of eyes on the street, such as permanent lighting. 30 more seconds, please. Additionally, the city should take responsibility for unsafe speeds on poorly designed streets like Cleveland Avenue, and $1 million should be set aside every year to assist victims of traffic violence and their families. It is impossible to measure the worth of a single human life, but it is far higher than $1 million. That is all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. Director Prashadi, can you both of you exchange information about this so you can follow up? Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Day Carter, Dorans, favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you very much. That's all I have in public safety and criminal justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, chaired by Councilmember White. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. I have 4 ordinances in public utilities and sustainability tonight. First, I have ordinance 955-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with General Temperature Control Incorporated for the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant East Aeration Control Building HVAC and Air Purification Project, to authorize an amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of funds from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $7,585,290 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund and Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the project. The HVAC and air purification units in the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant East Aeration Building are becoming difficult to repair and maintain and are approaching the end of their useful life. This project will replace those outdated units. Let me pause there, see if there are any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Day Carter, Dorans, favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 969-2024 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish contracts with Unison Solutions, Inc., Boiler Tech, Inc., Olympus Technologies, and Hydrothermal Corporation for the purchase of equipment to be utilized in the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant Organics Receiving and Bioengineering Utilization Facility for the Department of Public Utilities, to authorize an amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of funds from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $16,799,258.08 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund to pay for the project and to declare an emergency. The purchasing office advertised and solicited competitive bids for these contracts in accordance with competitive bidding provisions within the city code. But let me kick it to the director just to speak to the emergency.
Council President Harden, Councilmember Weish, and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the emergency nature of this piece of legislation. This project is part of a larger cogeneration project at our Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant, where there are available dollars through the IRA funding mechanism through the federal government. And in order to achieve their timeline, we needed to declare this an emergency. Our ability to take advantage of that funding could save the city up to $90 million. So we wanted to make sure we kept it on track.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day Akauer, Dorans, favored Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 1013-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Harold J. Becker Company, Inc. for the Sewer Maintenance Operations Center Phase 5 roof replacement, to authorize an amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of funds from the Sanitary Reserve Fund to the Sanitary Freshwater Market Rate Program Fund, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of up to $1,439,400.60 from the Sanitary Freshwater Market Rate Program Fund for the contract, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $2,000 from the Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the prevailing wage services for this project. This construction is for the fifth phase of roof replacement on the Sewer Maintenance Operations Center for the vehicle maintenance portion of the building. The work consists of roof removal to the deck, partial roof deck repair, new roof system installation, and installation of lighting protection systems and waterproofing. Let me stop there, see if there are any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day Akauer, Dorans, favored Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Last, I have ordinance 1157-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a contract with New River Electrical Corporation for emergency and non-emergency services for electric transmission, distribution, and street lighting systems for the Division of Power, and to provide for payment of prevailing wage services to the Department of Public Service, Design and Construction Division, to authorize the expenditure up to $1,698,000 from the Power Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. After executing a competitive bidding process, the department identified New River Electrical Corporation as the lowest overall bidder that also met all the specifications and requirements of the bid. The contract will be in effect for 1 year from the date of execution, with the option to renew for 4 additional 1-year periods. If unforeseen issues or difficulties are encountered that will require additional funding, a modification would be required. I will kick it to you, the Director, as well, just to speak to the emergency on this ordinance as well.
This, again, is just to keep the project and the services on schedule and our support for the lighting infrastructure.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day Akauer, Dorans, favored Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have for my committee this evening.
See no further business coming for council. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day Akauer, Dorans, favored Green, Remy White, President Harden.
The meeting is adjourned. We have 4 non-agenda speakers. We'll try to get through them. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Arcara, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy. White, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Arcara, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy. White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to that journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. President Pro Tem chairs the committee, and all members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, allow me, as always, to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking before council on rezonings and variances. We only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. Only those who own property within 125 feet of an address that is subject to a variance request are legally able to make public comments on the council variance pursuant to advice provided to this body by the city attorney's office. All speakers on a council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives from the area commission applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. This evening, we do not have any public speaker slips, and all three ordinances have full approvals from all the recommended bodies. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in the city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, that you shall answer in a painful penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services has been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 1151-2024 to rezone 1848 Aberdeen Avenue, being 0.20 plus acres located in the north side of Aberdeen Avenue, 362 plus feet west of Joyce Avenue, from C4 Commercial District to R3 Residential District. The site consists of an undeveloped parcel, and the requested rezoning will allow for a Habitat for Humanity, Mid-Ohio, to construct a single-unit dwelling. Want to pause and also welcome and congratulate Habitat's new CEO, who is a former Rec and Parks employee, and I'm looking forward for this body to be working more closely with that organization moving forward. This proposal has approvals from city staff, Development Commission, and Near East Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Day, Arcara, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy. White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, moving into council variances, we have ordinance number 1172-2024 to grant a variance provisions of section 333.2.03 R1 Residential District, 333.2.26B minimum side yard permitted, and 333.2.27 rear yard, the Columbus City Codes, for the property located at 210 South Chesterfield Drive to allow a single-unit dwelling on one lot with reduced development standards in the R1 residential district. The site consists of a single-unit dwelling and an existing single-unit dwelling over a detached garage, better known as a carriage house. Council variance is required as the current zoning district does not permit two single-unit dwellings on one lot, and the applicant is proposing to legitimize the existing carriage house. The proposal has support from city staff, and while there is no formal area commission for this neighborhood, it does have an approval from the Central Eastmore Civic Association. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Arcara, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy. White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Day, Arcara, Dorans, favor, Green, Remy. White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, De Akara, Dorance favor, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And finally, I have ordinance 1174-2024 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, 3312.49 required parking, 3332.05 A4 Area District Lot Width requirements, 3332.13 R3 Area District requirements, and 3332.19 fronting, 3332.25B maximum side yard required, 3332.26B1 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1454 Franklin Avenue to allow 2 units single unit dwelling on one lot with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district. The site consists of a single unit dwelling, and the requested council variance will allow a second dwelling unit above attached garage, again better known as a carriage house. Variance is required because the current zoning district does not permit 2 single-unit dwellings on one lot. The proposal has support from city staff and the Near East Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, De Akara, Dorance favor, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, De Akara, Dorance favor, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, De Akara, Dorance favor, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have in tonight's zoning agenda.
See no further business coming before the zoning committee. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, De Akara, Dorance favor, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned.